Okay, so here we have a deep sea treasure. Someone was already working on it. They were going to replace a few things. We got the blades here that we're going to replace. They don't really look that bad, so we might just clean them up and just put them back in. But we are going to replace this piece right here, which goes into this slot right here, which is for the actual pusher plate. The little wheel kind of goes around. As you can tell, it broke out. Finally wore it out. It's supposed to look like this. So as you can tell, we got to replace that. So we're going to put one of these on. We're going to change this one out because you can see that it's kind of bent. When they're bent like this, it's hard to get them straight again. Don't even try bending them back. Just buy yourself a new one and install it. So we are going to reuse this front piece. Just take these two little screws out and reuse that piece. But we're going to replace that one because we have a new one right here. You see how nice and straight it is. If you don't know, you should always get new screws for the plates. These screws, they're sort of like a tapered round head. Over time, they will wobble out, and then the screw will just pull right through there, and then these won't do any good. So replace them. If you're gonna replace this, replace the screws. I guess you don't really have to, but I recommend replacing the screws. And then of course we're gonna replace a few other things, and maybe a couple pins, and see what else we can do to make it look better. Well, it doesn't look like any of the pins are missing, but it does look like the little plastic round target is missing. So we'll fix that, take that off, take these little pieces off, put new pieces on there, and get it to look real nice. All right, well, let's go to the back side because there's a few things we need to do. We need to remove this right here, this little bearing, because that bearing right there is pretty much bad. It's hard to show it to you, but see it doesn't, it's just bad. So if I were to leave that, it's just going to start grinding that metal again, and it's just going to start all over again. So we have that new piece. We're going to have to take this off and replace this little wheel, put it back on, and then start putting the pusher plate back together. So let me go ahead and take that apart. It's a little Allen key right there. I'm just gonna use a little ratchet to take that off, and then clean it up and put it back together. So let's start. All right, so we got the piece off. It was a little bit of a pain in the butt. It was really on there. So as soon as you remove the set screw, just kind of like wiggle it back and forth and pull up at the same time. Use the tool if you need to. But it will come off. As you can tell, it's really dirty in there from all the metal that's been grinding, so we're gonna have to clean that out. Now we got this piece out. You can see that the metal is just so bad on here that it's just the bearings are probably fallen out, grinded up, and disappeared. So there's a little nut on the bottom. Remove that nut, and then you can use an Allen key to remove this whole thing from it. And then you just gotta, put a new one on there and put it back on there and start slapping it back together. So let's go ahead and replace this piece right here, and then I'll show you the next step I do. Okay, so we got the new bearing in. It's real nice. Got everything back together, cleaned it all up in there. Sprayed a little bit of lube in there, so that way it just kind of, keeps everything nice and lubed. I might spray a little bit more on the wheel, on the bearing here. Feels a little dry. Maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, so that's good to go. So next thing we're gonna do is start putting the skin back on, and then putting everything back together, with the little plate and everything. So there is a pain in the ass thing we need to do, and that's remove this piece right here, the play field or the coin field. That's gonna have to be removed or lifted up out of the way so we could be able to get everything back in there nice and proper. So let me do that. Okay, so I've removed the coin field. As you can see, that's all gone. And now it makes it possible for us to be able to work in here without having to fight with it and not be able to fit things. We can take this out now, clean things up and whatnot, and grease it all up. So now that we have this, we're gonna go ahead and start putting the pusher plate back together. We're gonna put this plate, the guide plate for the little bearing here. We're gonna put that back together. put the skin back on, put the screws back on, and then put the pusher back in, and then hopefully we'll just slowly start putting it back together. So let's go ahead and work on the pusher plate and get this piece back in, the skin back on, and then mount this back onto the sliders. Sorry about that. So let's do this. All right, so we got the pusher plate on, everything is screwed together and moves back and forth quite nicely. All right, so all that's left now is to add the skin, put the screws on, and then we can add the little sliders. We're gonna clean these up a little bit so they're not as dirty, and slap them back in there. And then just continue putting everything back together. So let's go ahead and clean these up, add them in there, put the skin on, and then we'll be done with that part, and then we can start on the other part, which is putting the coin field back on, and then we'll put the other sliders on the top part. So let's get the skin on and get these clean. Okay, so we have the top skin on, sliders are in there, the edge is on. This is good to go. Now we can start with putting the coin field back on, and at the same time putting the sliders on the top part. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to do, but if you know how to do it or if you figure it out, it's not that bad. I will try to show you as best as I can of what I do to get it to work, and then hopefully it helps. So let's continue on. Okay, so here's the coin field, play field, whatever you want to call it. I had to remove, I didn't have to, this little edge that's right here, which is what holds the top sliders, nylon pieces, these pieces. This is what holds this and allows it to slide back and forth. But as you can see, these are kind of hard to push back in. Over time, this piece of metal, I don't know how, but it's been squeezed to death and damaged, and now it doesn't, it's not all that great. So, you know, we're going to replace it. We're just going to take this piece, we're just going to throw it on the ground, and just like that, pick it up later, and we're going to replace it with a brand new one. It's nice and straight. So that way, when we put our slider in, everything slides in quite nicely. It's hard to do this with one hand. Quite nicely. Slides back and forth, no problem. The other one wouldn't do that. So, also, this piece broke off from here. I just have to crazy glue that bad boy back on. But eventually, I am going to just replace this coin field and just put a new one on there. This thing, it's pretty old. It's been beat up and repaired so many times. It's probably best just to replace it. So let's go ahead and replace this edge. Crazy glue this back in, clean it up a little bit, and start installing it back into the game. So let's get this done. Okay, so we have this crazy glue back on. Everything's nice and clean. I'm not gonna install this just yet because I want to take the time to remove these broken plastic pieces right here. This one right here and that one. And put in new ones. So let me go ahead and remove these, and then I'll clean it up a little bit, and then crazy glue two more back in there. I'll show you how I did that. Okay, so I have these little plastic pieces replaced. They're kind of easy to do. You just gotta, you know, chip off the pieces or the broken piece or whatever. Just gotta get it off. You gotta clean it up as best as possible. You know, try to get it as smooth as possible. And then kind of when you put it back together, I would put it on the rod with this on it and this attached to it, and then just put a little bit of crazy glue on the actual play field, and then lay this down, center it, and it should be good to go. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but the little pin here has to be able to move up and down and touch the metal that's behind it. That way it grounds out. All right, so now that we've got this done, let's go ahead and start putting this playfield back on and wrap this game up. Okay, so the playfield is back on. Notice that I did not put the sliders on this part right here. What I did is I am going to do it from behind. As you can see, I have the slider bar right here. You can see that I have the studs sticking out. This is a little black spacer that has to be pushed in nice and flat. And then all I'm going to do is just I'm going to put this on that, put the screws on, put the nuts on, and that's it. Tighten it up, and that should be it. I'll pull back on the pusher board a little bit so the plastic is actually on the metal, and then everything should line up. So let me go ahead and slap this together and show you. Okay, so this is what I mean. I put this plate on from behind it. The little pieces of plastic are right underneath it. You see right there, it's nice. There's like a little bit of a gap where you can see it. You do not want to see through there. You want to see that white nylon slider piece. That's what you want to see. If there's a little bit of a gap, it should be okay. You just don't want it so large that the coin will pass through. Okay, well, now that we have that part on, we just put the little nuts on, crank it down, and it should be good to go. From here, we just gotta, finish up, clean up a few things here and there, and turn the game on and test it. So let's finish up right here and get back to the front. Okay, so it's all put back together, everything's back on. I have put the sliders back in, I put the coins in. If you don't know how to actually put the coins on the edge, it's okay. There's two slots, one on the bottom, one on the top, all the way across, and then you just gotta fill in the little gaps like that, all the way across. Put some coins in here. I will have coins up here. I haven't turned on the game yet. Unfortunately, I did want to replace this piece of plexi. I ordered one. I thought it was here, but it hasn't gotten here yet, so it's still got a little tiny crack on this side. Oh well, what can I do? So, the way I put this little piece on, plastic piece on, is I grab 3 coins, and I will put them, lay them down right here, a little bit across, 3 each. That's what I'll use as my guide to get the height that I want. You would think 3 coins might be too much, but it's just perfect enough. If you go a little lower than that, the points tend to bind up and get caught, and then they'll flip and do all sorts of weird things. So 3 is good enough. It leaves a nice gap underneath there for you. All right, so I'm going to turn it on, and hopefully everything works out good. So let me go ahead and turn it on and make sure my coins are there. Okay, so the game's back together. We have our coins on both the shelves. I spread them out on the top a little bit. I spread them out on the bottom over here. I made sure there's coins in the hoppers, 200 in each hopper on the bottom, 300 in each hopper at the top. All that's left now is to test it. I already crated it up. I can shoot some on this side, shoot some on this side. As long as it's doing that, the game is working, it's good to go. Keep dumping all the coins if you want. And that's it. The game is good to go. I did win some tickets, so all right, well, I hope this helps you out. Thanks for watching.